Okay, so I think I have it so you guys can see me the right way this time. I think I want to be sideways, but I think the more I try and go when I want to go sideways, it only happens by accident that I get that right. So I think I have it. My internet is being super slow today. So if you are emailing me or sending me messages, it might just take me a little bit longer to respond to them because everything is at a snail's pace. And I even waited to do this till my boys were done with their college classes and outside, and they're outside now. So I thought, oh, it'd be a good time. And hello, Sue. Hopefully Wendy and Lisa are going to join again. I had a couple people join in and I was sideways. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm scratching it, starting all over again. So I'm excited that my middle son is outside. I think, yeah, he likes my page. He can see the video, but I'm actually going to be making a birthday card for him. And so I thought, you know, we all struggle. We shouldn't struggle with masculine cards, but it's always easier to put together ideas with cards, flowers, bright things like that. So the card that I'm going to make for you guys today is this card. And so there, I'm going to back it up so it kind of frames it a little bit. And so this card, like I said, I've learned from just watching a couple parts of other videos that I should hold the card there a little bit longer so you can see it, so that you can kind of soak it in. So I'm actually going to teach a technique today. And so during stamp camps, I like to show different ideas as far as techniques. I like to use a lot of different accessories, different colors, different stamp sets. And in doing that, it's good and great fun. But sometimes it's the at-home parties and things like that where I can teach you more of a technique and have you get it versus all of the things are sitting there at a station. Hi, Shelly. And you know, you can make the card, but you're not sure how to make the card. And I think an area that a lot of people like struggle with or think they do. And I want to help you get over the thinking that you're struggling with watercoloring today. So I've done a lot in this 10 cards in 10 days series with the Stampin' Blends, and I am a huge fan of that. So if I were to do this card, hey, Wendy, thanks so much for coming back to join me. I appreciate that. It wouldn't have been fun to watch this one sideways today. I think my go-to still will be the blends, but people enjoy watercoloring or they want to know how to watercolor. So since I won't be doing in-person stamp camps for everybody, I kind of last night was reflecting and went, you know, this is the perfect time for me to do the technique online for you guys to get the gist of how to watercolor or perfect it. And I am by no means perfect at it. It can be hit and miss. And that's the thing with watercoloring is that you can have a different look of your watercolor every time. So as I make these cards to send out for the people that are requesting them, every card's going to look a little different just depending on how the ink flows. Hello, Brian. Thanks for joining in. Brian's my biggest cheerleader, I really think. So his wife is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I love their Boston accents and love them as people just in general. So he's a great cheerleader, a great husband to his Stampin' Up! Demonstrator wife too. So him and Dwayne have a lot of fun when they get together. Maybe a little too much fun. So anyway, back to the cards. So I want to just show you kind of where I'm pulling these products from. So the stamp set is different than the suite or bundle. So my inspiration actually came from the mini catalog Homemade for You. And I kind of was inspired by the Country Club suite of products. And that's on page 46, 47. And this is where if I could figure out the my camera angle to have it sideways, you could see more of it better. And there's a stamp set and dies. So I don't have the stamp set, I don't have the dies, but I was inspired by the color combinations that are in the Designer Series paper. So I'm going to show you the Designer Series paper, and I even got some of the ribbon and the embossing folder. Dwayne doesn't care to golf. We went golfing, and it kind of, I think, bugs him because I do a little bit better than him, and I'm not bragging, but I enjoy golf, and it's just not his thing. And so I'm like, nope, this isn't it. If they had a farm club suite, maybe then we'd be all about it. But I already showed you his piggy card earlier, and that's like his thing. So anyway, that's where I was inspired to start with my color combination and products. But where I went was the A Good Man stamp set, and that's in the annual catalog on page 147. So that has the stamps that I'm using. Another thing that I've often used when I have used the Country Club suite is For the Win, and that's on page 58 as well too. Hi Julie, thanks for joining in. So something that I thought was kind of fun, if you see my card and the papers and such, you can see For the Win has a fun golf ball on a tee that I embossed in white and used in a different project too. So that's kind of some products that can go together. It's always fun to have different products that can work well together, so that when you are expanding your crafting selection, you have more to work with and go from. So I think I'm going to get started. Actually, no, I want to show you the stamps. That's a little bit closer up than in the catalog. So the For the Win, this is not what I'm using today, but I did want to show you how I took the golf ball and embossed that in white, and that looks great with that suite of products. I thought I'm going to bring it out, but my boys are really into sports, so I loved all the other things that went along with the stamp set. So that's why I wanted to get that one for them. And then the stamp set that I am using is A Good Man. And so having all boys, I have 3 boys, and so this is a good set for them. It can work well for cards for my husband as well too. So I'm going to make the birthday card for my middle son today. It's going to be part of my 10. So if you're ordering cards, you're going to get the card with him. My other son has a birthday next month, and I think this would be good for him because he's a dad, and him and his wife have number 2 coming on the way, and I just thought, you know what, that's a good set for that too. So, I'm not using this, but I thought I will throw that in too, that this comes in that suite of products. Okay, now I think I'm ready to get started with what we're doing here, and my phone was doing a little hocus pocus too, so I'm going to try and get things a little bit set up here so that I can put it down close. Like I said, I want to try and show you some watercolor techniques, so I want to make sure that my phone, without falling off the stand, is going to be as close to the products and card as I can be without losing my phone. And like I said too, without my iPad working, it's hard to know, when you guys have questions, I'm gonna miss those. So I will try and check comments and stuff. Hi Lisa, hi Tabitha. So hopefully you can see, but like I said, my internet's being so slow, it's really frustrating. I feel like it's already throwing me off subconsciously because I can't see it. So I think I'm just going to get started because you can see, or I can see my hands here. Hopefully you can too. So the first thing that I'm going to do is show you kind of my color inspiration. So these are the sheets that come in the Country Club Designer Series paper pack. So I love this pattern. My son has pajama pants, don't tell anybody, that look just like that. And then if you have somebody that's into golfing, look at that. And so, oh hey, my live is showing up just now, better late than never. So if you do have questions or comments, hopefully that might show up. So then on the back side of these are fun little golf images, and just even kind of prep school Argyle designs are in here, like so. And then fun golf bags like that, and some of the crests and such that you think of when you think of the Masters and big time golfing events. And how cute are these golf carts? So I thought that was kind of fun. and then another nice plaid for any kind of masculine card that you might want to create there. Another argyle and some bright tones. And then if you like to watercolor, you might watch my video today and go, you know what, I think I can do that watercoloring thing now. And so you might want to cut out one of these images, watercolor it in, and have that be the focus of your card. So how I kind of gathered up how I wanted to make this card come together is when I looked at these pieces that I wanted to work with, I thought I see a lot of blue and I see a lot of gray. So I thought I'm going to start with a blue base for the card. And so I'm just going to pull out some Night of Navy. And because I'm going to make 2 cards for sure, I'm just going to, with my score down, and then I'm going to cut it in half at the 5 1/2. I scored at 4 1/4, cut at 5 1/2. Just gonna set one aside, and with my bone folder, I'm gonna make sure that that has a good crisp edge. And then for the next piece, that's going to be the next layer, I'm going to need that one to be just a 1/4 inch shorter. So I'm going to do 4 1/4 by 5 1/4, like so, and I'll set those other pieces apart. And then if you remember the little pieces here, those are going to be, just cut the strips down a little bit, 4 inches by 1, 4 inches by 1 inch. I'm going to need 2 of this, and I'm going to need 1 of this, but they're all 4 inches by 1 inch. Okay, so I've got those 3 pieces there, and I'm gonna set that aside. And before I even put these together, I think, let's see, how do I want to do this? You know, I always put a card together and go, now how would I do the arranging if I were to show people how to make it? Okay, so I'm going to pull out my Big Shot, and with the regular platform that comes with it and the embossing plate here, I'm going to use the Absolutely Argyle embossing folder, and this is a 3D embossing folder, so it's pretty thick. So for that reason, we're going to use the 3D embossing plate, that blue plate. And what I like about this is it has that black line. So with a busy pattern like that, I can put my cardstock close to that black line, fold it in. An important thing that this video helps me to tell people too is that when you're using your embossing folder, wherever it folds, that's where it should go into the Big Shot. And that will help your folders last a lot longer. It won't create any kind of bubbles that are going to make them kind of do anything that's going to crack it, and it'll make your embossing folders last longer. So here's that Argyle look. So sometimes with embossing folders, I like to show the front and the back because that can look a little different, and it might make people think, okay, which one do I want to show or work with? So I'm going to set those pieces aside, and next I'm going to take a piece of shimmery white cardstock and stamp out the image of this guy there in my Memento black ink pad. The reason I'm using shimmery white, usually use just kind of pieces of it, is because it's really good when it comes to watercoloring. It accepts water really well, and that's important when watercoloring. So I'm going to stamp that out and just set that aside. And next I'm going to take my magnetic platform, and I just need to line up where I've stamped him, kind of frame him. And this is from the Nested Dies. So the Nested Stitch Label dies here. I used those yesterday, so I'm not going to go over those too much just because we just used them yesterday. And if you want to see another idea with that, you can go and check out my video from yesterday. Hello, Sherry. So that's gonna pop right out, and once again, it's gonna have that nice stitched look to it as well. And since I have the Big Shot really handy here, I'm just gonna go with the sentiment right away, and that's going to be stamped in Night of Navy, and it's going to say, "It's your day," and I'm just going to stamp that out on some smoky slate cardstock there. So I'm just going to switch gears as far as the dies that I'm using, and these are the stitched shape framelits. So the stitched shape framelits, say that fast over and over, have a variety of squares and circles and ovals, and there's 4 of each for different sizes. And the reason why I wanted to pull in a different set, I often do that, and it's usually this that I pull to go in with other things, is it follows through with the stitched look of this nested dies, and it's stitched around there too. So I'm just going to take and put that aside. So then I think I'm done with the Big Shot. So now it comes to the technique part, which drives everybody a little crazy sometimes, because first of all, probably the biggest question I get is, what do I use? So Stampin' Up! Has a couple different products here. The Aqua Painter, which is in the back of the catalog with accessories, as well as the blender pens. The blender pens come in a 3-pack. The Aqua pens come in a 2-pack. So I think I'm just going to start with my Night of Navy ink pad. And what I like to do is close it, give it a good squish, and you can see then that the ink from the ink pad transfers onto there. You don't want to take and pull your ink from your ink pad with your Aqua Painter, because you kind of want to water it down and blend it, but the last thing you want to do is add water to your ink pad, which is going to alter the effects and the looks of that Night of Navy color for all of your projects going forward. So I'm just squeezing out a little bit of water, and you can see how it's going to make it look lighter already versus the condensed blue there. And I'm just going to start on the edges and go towards the middle. And sometimes, depending on what color ends up coming out, if it's darker or lighter, I might go with starting more towards the edges. So knowing this turned out kind of light, and that's it with watercoloring, you're never kind of going to be 100% sure what's going to come out. So then I kind of go and reach towards the darker and just tap some color in there. And now I'm going to go along the edges of his shirt, like so. And then I'm going to reach for some darker colors and just kind of go over where those folds and wrinkles are in his shirt, like so. And then I'm just going to kind of go along the bottom and sides of his shirt with a little darker look. So this is something that just takes a little bit of time. And there's even a little light spot there and there. I'm just going to leave that because I want that to look kind of natural. So then next I just take and kind of give this a little squish right on my paper here, or you can take a cloth if you want and feel more comfortable with having like some type of rag or cloth to do that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that same squishing technique with the soft suede, and I'm going to pull that color into my Aqua Painter. Since I bled it all out with the navy, I know it's safe to go back and use the soft suede, and that's going to be his khaki short. So there too, it's pretty light, so I'm going to go back to the dark areas on my ink pad and just kind of go over that with the darker areas. Like I said, it's important to leave some of those light areas, because the light areas not filled in are kind of what makes it look complete as far as like the shadowing and shading does. So once again, I'm just going to bleed that color out like so. And I want to do that, actually I'm going to go back to that color and do his hat as well. So by starting with the darker color, I'm just going to go where the majority of the darker shading is on the design of his hat, and then work in with a lighter color. And to me it looks too much the same, so I'm going to pull the darker into that like so. And it's the same color, but it's just fun to see how that can add that depth and dimension to the hat like so. So we have that. And then actually what's fun, this is why I like the Aqua Painter versus the blender, but I'm going to use the blender too so you can see the difference there. So I'm going to push some water around here to make this really light. And then I'm just going to add a really quick base here of what could be sand and such. So this is the soft suede still, then I'll go back with the dark and just kind of swirl on over top where the black images are from the stamp set. And then even add just a little bit of texture here and there with my Aqua Painter like so. So we have that. And then now I'm going to switch gears and go towards the Balmy Blue and also show you how you can use that. And the Petal Pink. Actually, I'm going to start with Petal Pink. I want to give that a good squeeze and show you how to use that with the blender pen. And the blender pens are kind of like, in comparison, a marker that's completely clear. So I start out on my paper with a little scribble to make sure that whatever I've used before, even though I'm good at cleaning them out, isn't still in there. So I'm just going to pick up some of this color that's in my tray here. And once again, just kind of start with an outline and then bring that color in a little bit. So start with the darker and just go over like the legs and such with the outsides. And then I can pull that more into the inside. So knees are going to get a little bit more color because there's a little bit more to the knees. And then as the color kind of runs out, and it will because you're just picking up this color, so it's going to start out dark and then it's going to get lighter. So keep that in mind to start in the areas that you want to be darkest. Do those first. And you can always just kind of keep adding, which is great. He's got an elbow left here, which I'm going to just go over the edges there and come back lightly. And I got a little fuzz on there, okay? And then same with his neck here too. Okay, so we have that all colored in. And then I'm going to switch to Balmy Blue. So I'm going to press that, open that, and there too, just kind of swirl out. You can tell when all the color's out of the tip, but there's still moisture within the tip, just like a marker would have, but it's all clear. So I'm going to pick up some of this Balmy Blue and just kind of go along the edges of the chair. And I do kind of want it to be a little darker right next to his shirt, just to give it some depth and separation from where he is on the chair. And I'm actually going to go over just the black outline of the chair as well. And then I'm just going to go down the lines of the chair here, the seat, as well as up in the top here, and kind of just frame that, and then lightly color that in. And it's going to maybe leave some white spots and such, and that's okay. And then I'm going to go over this because I want it to be a little bit more dark on those areas. Okay, so we have a little bit of look, but if you look, nothing looks totally like in the lines like you would if you were coloring with a actual blender pen or such, and that's okay too. So if I was brave, I could go, you know, I didn't do this before, but I could go back with my Aqua Painter and pick up some of that blue and do the blue skyline if I wanted to, but I'm just going to kind of leave it like that. So you can see there's a lot of different texture. Just before doing my live with you, I did this card. So just, I mean, they're only minutes apart, but you can see I like to show the difference of maybe like the coloring, like these khaki shorts got darker than that, maybe the hat too. I'm using the same color, same technique, but every time you make a card, it can look a little different too. So I like to show people that when you do watercolor, nothing is going to look identical every time. So now it's just a matter of putting the card together, and I'm just going to clean up my ink pads so that I don't accidentally get that. I actually need this. So I'm going to open up my Balmy Blue. So then to put the card together, I'm just going to take, I'm going to cover up a little bit of that Argyle, but not a lot. I'm going to start with just the light piece from the Country Club Designer Series paper and put that towards the middle. And I'm going to put all of these pieces more towards the middle of the card and leave the edge, the top and the bottom showing a little bit more. Hi Cindy, good to see you on here. And that way, when I put him on, the pattern of the Argyle is still going to show, even though, and you'll see all of these, but I don't want to space these out too much, and that's the reason these are only 1 inch, is I wanted that Argyle pattern to show through there as well. And then I'm just going to take some more snail. I want to make sure I get a good amount of adhesive to the corners when I use my embossing folders, just because there is that tendency a little bit that they might want to just ride up or bubble up if you don't have a good amount of adhesive. You don't have to go crazy by any means, but just that it's equal on there to the corners. And then to pop him up, I'm just going to take my dimensionals and put about 5 of those on and peel off those stickers, and that is going to pop him up and help make that the focal point there of the card. And then remember, I stamped out the It's Your Day, and so I just want to add with the Balmy Blue a light blue heart. Granted, this is for my son. I don't want any hearts and pinks and lots, too much lovey looking things, but I thought the Balmy Blue just added a nice touch to that. And it's softer, lighter than the navy, so it just kind of is more of a watermark in the background. So I'm going to put a couple dimensionals there. I put them top and bottom so that this can just kind of rest right on top of that. Oh, I know what I forgot. I forgot to have the inside of my card that I did. I forgot the piece of Whisper White. So what I stamped out is you do a great job of being a great guy. So that's for the inside of the card there. So
yes, I do.
Oh, okay. That's my son chiming in, thinking he's a great guy today. Hi, Darby. And Kelly, hello, thanks for joining in. So that's it for the card, and I didn't want to make this a really lengthy presentation. I'm going to try and move this up. Okay, I didn't want to make it really lengthy, but yet I'm hoping that that kind of helped you with watercoloring. And like I always say when I do stamp camps, I can't always get to every station when there's 10 stations, and depending on the amount of people, to go over all those tips and tricks. And as far as like blender pens and aqua painters, I always say really personal preference. A lot of people say, oh, I do everything with my aqua painter, wouldn't have anything else. And other people say I have no control unless I use the blender pen. So it is definitely personal choice when it comes to that type of thing. So hopefully I have given you some inspiration to try some watercoloring. Now that we are stuck inside, and we shouldn't be stuck inside. Like yesterday, we should have been enjoying the beautiful weather we had. But now that we have more time that we aren't gathering with people, that's where I feel the difference is gathering with people. But yet I'm checking in with so many of you. I don't feel very all alone. Having my family around, it doesn't make me feel lonely either. So that's good too. So thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I thought it's always fun to just chime in with a guy card. There again, as far as getting cards, if you place an order of $75 or more, you get the set of 10 cards that I'm making in my series of 10 cards in 10 days. You'll get those for free if you order, and my order code will be with the card, the note with the card that I'm going to post next that has the card as a still shot and all the ingredients to make the card. It sounds like a recipe, it is kind of. And it's also on my website. And Then if you just say, you know what, I have tons of supplies, now I just need to get out my things in watercolor, but I want that card in front of me to know what Belle did, you can purchase the set of 10 cards for $22 too. And so I can get those in the mail to you, or safely deliver them also if you are local. So thank you so much for joining in. I am just amazed and shocked every day by the number of people that are connecting with me and commenting, hey, I've been watching your videos. A lot of you are crafters, some of you aren't. So I think it's kind of fun how many have really encouraged me to keep going. So this is day 8, which I said is kind of hilarious because it helps me realize what day of the month we're into. So it's April 8th. So I have a couple more cards that I need to plan in the next couple days to give you guys some inspiration. Hopefully I'm giving you guys a break and giving you something fun to look at that's a little bit different too in your days. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again.